Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Cut Your Time to Fill in Half with Text, Your Key to Saving 922 Recruiting Hours a Year. My name is Angela Lee, and I am a Senior Marketing Manager here at Jobvite. Happy to have you join us. First, a couple of housekeeping items. First, you'll notice that all of your lines are currently muted. As you'll see, if you have any questions at all, you can feel free to chat into the window down below. We'll be answering the questions at the end of the webinar. And now on to the webinar. First, I'd like to introduce Robert Zhao, who is our Chief Product Officer here at Jobvite. Robert has more than 20 years of experience in technology, working for a variety of different companies. I understand he's also founded a few companies himself. Robert, do you want to say a couple things?
Sure. Thanks, Angela.
Yeah.
It's great to be here with everybody, and it's great to be here on with Aman as well. Yeah, just a little bit about me. I've been with Jobvite for 5 years in both the strategy role and currently the Chief Product Officer. It's have about 10 years of experience working on the recruiting side, and it's great to be here to talk about recruiting and specifically mobile and texting today.
Great. Thank you, Robert. And also we are joined, as Robert said, by Aman as well. He's the President and CEO of Canvas. Aman also has a lot of years of experience within the technology space, so I'll let Aman give a brief intro to who he is as well.
Yeah, really excited to be here. Super excited about Jobvite Text powered by Canvas. And I was at my first text-based startup over a decade ago, and the technology sure has come a long way. And it's been really exciting to watch. It's really unparalleled growth in the recruiting space. So really excited to share more about our product today.
Great, thank you. And so now on to the webinar. I'm going to turn it over to Robert to begin the presentation.
Great. So what I thought I'd do is maybe take a step back and give you some context around some of the things that we've been seeing on recruiting and how that's actually making texting and mobile communication so important for everybody to think about and utilize nowadays. So I think everybody is familiar with our record low unemployment rates, and especially in the skilled labor, white collar workforce, high growth industries, highly educated candidates. This has created record unemployment and really made it tough for recruiters and companies to build up their talent. People that you're looking for in those areas are already employed. Now that's the bad news, but the good news is everybody, even though that they're employed, are still out there looking for jobs. So they're on your career site, but it's not just the career site. They're looking for information about your culture. They're doing research on LinkedIn about your team. They're looking for videos about the impact of the company, understanding from the employee perspective what a day in the life at the organization looks like. And so they're very eager and actively searching for ways to communicate, to do their research, to hear from employees and leaders of the company. And when they become available and make a decision that they're ready to make a change in careers, you have a few weeks to get them engaged, get them through the process. And if you have not built a relationship with them prior to them being available and reaching out to you, then you really don't have an opportunity to pick up the best talent. So now more than ever, it's extremely important to be proactive in building out relationships with candidates way before the job is available. And in some situations, working with customers, some of our best of breed customers at Jobvite, the recruiters and sourcers are building out relationships years before a job actually becomes available. And in so doing, creating great talent pools that they can build on and recruit from, significantly improving their metrics in their process. Critical to building these proactive relationships, by the way, is using text. I think one of the things that we've seen is as recruiters are starting to import strategies from the marketing industry in learning how to build relationships and building out recruitment marketing strategies, we're seeing that texting is standing out as a communication platform and a strategy that is providing extremely good metrics and has been extremely effective at communicating and mobilizing individuals. What we're actually seeing from just the over the last few years, looking at metrics in the recruiting, or I'm sorry, in the marketing space, Americans are sending and receiving 5 times as many texts compared to phone calls each day. Another study over the last few years is showing that text messages have an open rate of 98%, and for and also that text messages are seeing an average time to respond of 90 seconds. And so these are metrics from the sales and marketing industry, showing how over the last 5 years, as sales and marketers have embraced mobile and SMS communications, they've been able to pretty much transform the metrics around how the ROI of their advertising spend and their marketing spend to get great results. So on the recruiting side, over 10 years ago, Jobvite was one of the first ATSs to build our recruiting and referral features and functionality directly on top of existing email communications. And that really changed the game for us in enabling recruiters to really streamline the recruiting process within their organizations, using their existing email, and building that directly into the workflow processes. Texting brings it to a whole nother level. We're seeing that, again, especially with the next generation of talent, recruiters that utilize text and mobile communications get 4 to 5 times better open and read rates than using email alone. And what that means is that better email or better open rates and read rates and response metrics means more conversations, means bigger talent pools, means more applications, and ultimately it leads to better hires. And so there are a whole bunch of ways that companies have been using this technology then to drive those results. And I'll just give a few of them to give some examples. You know, one way of using texting for communicating with candidates is to keep them engaged within the recruiting funnel. So while after they've applied and while they're going through the process, again, the typical time to hire is anywhere from a couple weeks up to 30 days. And keeping them engaged in that process is critical. And especially as other people and other recruiters continue to reach out to them through that process, what we've seen some forward-thinking companies do is utilizing text to build campaigns that continue to reinforce that brand, talking about their culture, the impact of the role in the organization, sending them relevant news and events as they go through that process. And in that way, continuing the momentum, continuing to reinforce that value proposition, and leading to better metrics as you try to move the top candidates from stage to stage within the recruiting funnel. There are also lots of ways to utilize texting and mobile communications in what we call the pre-apply stages. So in the pre-apply, we call that the sourcing, branding, and talent pooling areas. There's lots of ways for you to use mobile to actually boost up the metrics as well. So using mobile to increase response rates leads to, again, a lot more conversations, a lot more improved ROI metrics on your own advertising and sourcing spend. And that leads to bigger and richer talent pools that you can pool on. And doubling down on these larger, richer talent pools are nurture campaigns that, again, as the next generation of talent gets more engaged using text messages, you're able to stand out against other recruiters trying to vie for their time and attention using mobile campaigns, again, still to talk about culture, talk about the stuff that they would proactively want to research. So sending links to videos, sending links to campaigns on your corporate blogs, on your LinkedIn sites, on your corporate Facebook pages. These are all tried and true strategies that have been useful in the marketing side and strategies that we've seen very successful in our best of breed recruitment marketing customers. And obviously, just in one-on-one communications as well. When you're talking with candidates and contacts, and you know that you're not the only one reaching out to them, being able to communicate on the terms that they want, being able to utilize the communication channels that they are most familiar with and most comfortable with is extremely important in making sure that you're engaging them in the right way and that you're getting their attention at the right time to be able to push people through the funnel. So this isn't new, and there are a lot of recruiters, individual recruiters, that have been forward-thinking, have been using their own personal cell phones to be able to communicate with candidates and contacts for a while now. And that has been very successful. However, as more and more people are doing this, there's some limitations to trying to create a system-wide or an organization-wide strategy around mobile where every recruiter is using their own device to be able to do this. One of them, obviously, is in the compliance and reporting area. When every recruiter is using their own device, you as an organization are not able to see and track what is going on. You'll have potentially multiple recruiters trying to contact a single person. You'll have conversations that leave when the recruiter leaves and with no record of what has happened. And even in the, as I said, in the compliance areas, as rules change, as you move people through the process from the sourcing side to the apply side using mobile, you absolutely have to have some tracking methodologies on how you maintain those conversations or are able to audit what the conversations have been. So having a corporate platform that manages and monitors, coordinates, and logs all of your mobile communications is critical to be able to scale this in a way that really benefits the entire organization. And there are also, as I mentioned, other just ways that are more effective in using a platform than an individual device. Again, as people change their numbers, as people try to automate the conversation, as people try to reach out to more than one, having a system that is purpose-built to be able to consolidate the numbers and make that simple and easy from a candidate perspective to know who to get back to, having the ability to create single campaigns that go out to multiple people, having the ability to create workflow that automates multiple touches depending on what the reactions are, is again critical to embracing this as an organization so that you can scale and get the most value out of it. So here to talk about a new partnership that we've created with Canvas, and we'll love to get into actually being able to show you the product and give you a demonstration of some of the things that you're able to do. But one of the things before we just jump in is again using this directly in Jobvite. There are ways. Again, Jobvite is a talent acquisition platform that combines not only the ATS but also a CRM and a recruitment marketing system along with onboarding. And enabling texting across all of these platforms is just another communication channel that, again, raises your recruiting capabilities to the next level. It allows you to consolidate conversations using SMS and mobile across the entire funnel, from sourcing to talent pooling, to branding, to the apply process, to the screening process, all the way through the onboarding process to make sure that that the information that you're trying to get out gets to the person, that it's trackable, that it's consumed as quickly as possible, and that it's as interactive as possible. It's also a way of gaining a competitive advantage against other recruiters that are still trying to send email, still trying to go into manual conversations, still doing one-to-one communications using their individual phones. It's a much better candidate experience that we can provide, having a platform that works across the entire recruiting funnel. And when you do that, again, you'll be able to significantly improve response rates, reduce the amount of effort to build out the right talent pools, and ultimately that falls down to a faster time to fill, a reduced cost of recruiting, and using the combined product with Jobvite and the texting powered by Canvas, you're able to track and see the results and compare what the responses are and how that works between texting and your other sourcing channels, to be able to actually measure how many people are coming in through text, how many people are engaging you through text, and how does that compare to how you were doing it before. And again, these are some of the results that we've seen just with our partnership with Canvas. Canvas and Aman would be, I'll kind of ask you to jump in on some of these metrics. Aman has been working a lot more with customers over the last several years, specifically on best practices around using texting, and in our partnership has really opened our eyes on what you can do and some of the metrics that have been extremely eye-opening from the recruiting side.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. We kind of covered the read rate, but certainly a hard data point to argue. A simple example would be, if someone were to send you a news article via email or text, I certainly have a much higher propensity to open that text versus the random news article in my email. The next two data points really came from independent research and time studies that we did, kind of looking at more typical recruiter workflow prior to Jobvite text. And you can imagine that on a typical day, a recruiter might have meaningful conversation, let's say via telephone with maybe 4 people, maybe 5, maybe 6, if it's an incredibly efficient day. In our world, we're seeing that rate really 10x, so that bandwidth and capacity to have meaningful dialogue and conversation with candidates has been 10x, and it is really just quite the force multiplier. And that's not even acknowledging the automation and other aspects of a really robust platform with CanvasBot, et cetera. That's just taking into account what I'd call just everyday messaging with candidates. That multiplier is even further exponential once thinking about CanvasBot technology. So lastly, when we kind of did our time studies on screening and those kinds of things and engagement, looking at about a 922-hour savings for a team of 3 or 4 recruiters. So that savings is pretty obviously scales as you have a larger recruiting team. So a really exciting data that we're uncovering regarding the power of communicating via text with candidates.
Great. So I think at this point we'll go into an actual demonstration, so you can see what the tool looks like and get an example of how you can use this on within the Jobvite product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, correct. Thank you so much. I'm gonna once I get control here, I will take over the screen. Perfect. So can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Great. So listen, today's just going to be what I'd call a teaser demo. There's lots of things to cover, but hopefully this will give you a great incentive to kind of want to reach out to Jobvite and learn more about Jobvite text. So first thing I'd show you here is I've got Isabella's candidate profile picked up. You can see that Canvas has kind of empowered the telephone numbers that are in the product for really quick and easy communication. So I can click this Chrome extension and just get started with messaging the candidate. You're seeing that it's pulling over job ID information. I could send my standard welcome message and really just get that conversation started. I might be working and chatting with Isabella, but then also recognize that somebody else has sent me a message. And so I could go into my chat screen and just take 2 seconds to get back to Christine, right? So a really, really powerful way to work use a persistent window for your text messaging versus just the Chrome extension. So if you want to have a window kind of always open side by side with Jobvite, that's no problem at all. So let's, a couple things I'll point out is that we do send the texting activity information into the summary page for Jobvite, so you can see what recruiters have reached out via text to the candidate. We also, it's very unique to Canvas, we push our transcripts back into the Jobvite environment. So it's kind of one environment for the recruiter. The recruiter can see the different recruiters that have had conversations with a candidate via text in the details of the candidate page. So some really nice features there. So let me just for seeing it kind of in parallel, I'll pop over to Canvas. Here you can see I have had a chat with Isabella, and I've had some internal notes where I've marked some things positively or perhaps negatively. What's great about this is all the things that I can do in the Chrome extension. Like, for example, I'll pull up the extension, and if I hit pound, it'll pull up my saved messages. So I can hit the pound button, and if I had messages saved, I can get to my quick access messages there, just like you see here in my environment with Canvas. I hit pound, and I can get my quick messages that I can access and show. I've got a nice questions library and a resource library to send benefits information or perhaps our Humane Society adoption program. These questions we organize around different roles, so you can really be orchestrating a conversation through utilizing these quick send features. You can also schedule messages to be sent. So if you're working late at night, want to make sure that message goes out tomorrow morning, that's no problem. We can do this both for individual messages and bulk. But again, the majority of your day-to-day messaging you can do right inside Jobvite text. Really powerful extension features and really simple kind of one button push to get engaged with the candidate. So some of those power features do exist in the Canvas environment. So here I can see Jobvite text powered by Canvas, where I've got 3 records for my Engineer 2 role. This data pulled over from Jobvite. I'm going to select these records, and I'm just going to quickly send a quick send out to these candidates saying, "Hi, candidate, first name. Can you use the link to schedule your interview? We're super excited about your visit to Canvas," right? So whatever that might be, I can send this or schedule it later. And now, just at a push of a button, I've simplified my workflow. It's really just a fantastic force multiplier to be doing one-to-many messaging and easing the pain of scheduling or informing or gathering interest around a role. We've also got really beautiful analytics, both at a recruiter level and a company level, where we can get just great visibility into candidate response rates and chats and usage of libraries and so forth. So, and then Canvas Spot over here, which we'll save for another day, but again, just adds an even deeper layer of automation to the Jobvite text. So again, I'll just circle back on Jobvite text. You've got the use of a persistent window. You've got a wonderful Chrome extension to get messages started really, really quickly and to respond to candidates while you're working away in Jobvite. Lastly, you don't have to be tied to your laptop or desktop to stay engaged with your candidates. There's a full suite of applications that are native to both iOS, including an iPad-specific app, as well as Android. So wherever you are, recruiter, we can meet your texting needs through Jobvite text. Well, thank you very much. I think we're now going to transition over to questions. So let's pull up this beautiful question slide.
Great, thanks, Alon and Robert. I see a lot of questions coming in from the audience. I'll just filter through the first few that I see. First question is a great one. Asked by one of our participants, and it is, how will texting evolve within a recruiting context in the future?
I can start, Alon. So yeah, I think texting, from my perspective, is a new communication platform again, similar to emails and the social pieces of it. And so I think there are a lot of new things and things that we can do in the future. Some of the things that I've been talking about is matching AI and machine learning and chatbots along with texting. Again, with such a simple, quick response, interactive communication channel, being able to learn from all of the interactions and be able to figure out what drives even more responses, what gets more engagement, it really would allow the analytics and the AI to start driving and automate some of the messaging itself, some of the communications itself, some of the screening capabilities. And the ideal is, again, taking a look at the marketing and the advertising industries of how some of the AI and machine learning has been used to customize content, customize even experiences, such as the layout of certain of the phone and the screen itself is pretty exciting. And it's not just as a on a requisition basis, but it can be potentially even tailored down to the individual, so that as you get more data and communications with individual contacts and candidates, you learn about what drives them. You can build a profile about them based off of their the activities to really customize how you want to engage with these people, and then use that across the mobile as well as the web experience.
Yeah, I think those are great points, Robert. And I think, the kind of evolution of usage, and kind of what we showcased today with, some of the more easily accessible kind of basic features, and then knowing that there's just so much room to grow with what's available in the platform for Jobvite Text already with the bot technology. And the bot technology combined with texting is just just so efficacious. But then to your point about what we learn over time with these conversations, imagine a world where Jobvite can recommend not just what to say next, but what recruiter ought to be matched to what candidate based off certain information. So just so many possibilities to explore in this kind of data explosion that we're entering in the recruiting space.
Great, thank you. And we have another question from an audience member. How do I get started with texting at my company?
Yeah, I'll handle that, Robert. We obviously have gone through lots of training with our users. What we always recommend is just kind of getting initially started with thinking about one-to-one messaging and leveraging the texting capability built right into Jobvite. With Jobvite Text, kick off a conversation with a candidate, maybe get something scheduled, and then getting more comfortable with concepts like screening or asking follow-up questions via text. Then moving to kind of one-to-many messaging like we showcased in the demo. And then ultimately, I think just knowing that there's a lot of really fascinating and awesome use cases deploying the bot technology that is built into Jobvite Text as well. So Jobvite and Canvas work closely with clients to help move them through that continuum.
Yeah, I kind of echo that. I think the way to get started is to not really think of this as a change into your process, but how do you incorporate it into your existing process? So this is just another communication mode for how you normally would interact and communicate with candidates and contacts. You don't have to really feel overwhelmed that you have to start creating campaigns and start using chat bots or anything like that. You can see great results just by giving candidates and contacts the option of communicating over mobile. And once you do that, you can start building out your comfort level with that level of communication, kind of talk through your organization about how you want to track it, how, if you want to standardize on it. And then as you go through more mature concepts of branding and talent pooling, you can expand out through that way. But it's not a requirement to be, a super mature branding recruitment marketing organization to utilize texting. You can do that within just your normal everyday process.
Fantastic. And I'll just pause there and encourage people to keep asking questions. There's a chat box at the bottom of your screen, so please keep the questions coming. The third question we have right now is, do I need to use my own phone number with Jobvite Text?
You don't actually. Everyone's provisioned, each recruiter's provisioned a Jobvite text number, so that communication happens through the software, right, either on the mobile phone or the desktop experience. So it's certainly something that our recruiters love, not having to provide their personal number for texting of candidates. So, and it's also important to note that the recruiter can be provisioned multiple numbers as well. So if you wanted, one number for San Francisco and another for your call center recruiting in Denver, the software can handle those things in a really, really simplistic way.
Okay, thanks, Aman. And on a similar note, there's a question on the use of a desktop. So do I need to use a desktop when using Jobvite Text? Can I still text people via my mobile device?
Yep, you sure can. So again, wonderful, brilliant texting experience with Jobvite software on the desktop, but you can also leverage native iOS apps, a native Android app, and also an iPad-specific app. So really lots of fun use cases for recruiters, even have recruiters on their airplane Wi-Fi, chatting with candidates and moving them through the process from 30,000 feet. So you can imagine the opportunities to engage are pretty endless.
Great, thank you. I think that does it for our webinar for today. So I want to thank Robert and Aman for your time and participating in this webinar. There's a couple of questions we didn't get to, so we will be circling back with you on those shortly. So thank you again, everyone, for your participation.
Great. So great to be here. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Angela.
Absolutely. That was good. Thank you.